After 12 years of marriage, he had expected to just sincerely. Perhaps notes about the upcoming charity gala Rosalie had spent weeks organizing. To be loved sincerely, or reminders to order more coal for the tenant cottages before winter returned. To be loved sincerely instead, a folded sheet of cream-colored paper slipped free and landed quietly at his feet. To be loved sincerely once, then he saw the title written neatly across the "To be loved sincerely, things I want to do before I die." At first, he almost smiled. Rosalie had always been practical. To be loved sincerely, he imagined plans to renovate another orphanage classroom, raise additional funds for widowed mothers. Even her dreams, he assumed, would revolve around sincerely caring for everyone around her. He had expected once. To be loved sincerely, duty, responsibility. What he hadn't expected was just the first line, "Buy myself a red dress." Sebastian frowned. To be loved sincerely, he read it again, a red dress, not jewels, not another, just one. To be loved sincerely, take a train without knowing exactly where it leads, at least once learn the names of constellations. To be loved sincerely, most of it could have been done in a single afternoon. To be loved sincerely, why had she never done any of these things? He continued reading. To be loved sincerely, several items had been crossed out. Learn piano just one time, celebrate my birthday properly maybe next year. To be loved sincerely. Rain tapped steadily against the glass ceiling while the scent of wet earth drifted through the room. He had always believed Rosalie was happy. Reserved, perhaps. Practical. Never particularly impulsive. But happy. She rarely complained. Never demanding. To be loved sincerely. The names of every gardener employed at Ashcroft. To be loved sincerely. The exact blend of tea Sebastian preferred on mornings. Then his eyes drifted toward the bottom of the page where the ink appeared darker. To be loved sincerely. Be asked if I am happy. Sebastian stopped breathing. He stared at the sentence for so long that the wound deepened. To be loved sincerely. Be asked if I am happy. The rain continued falling. To be loved. Somewhere beyond the conservatory, servants moved through Ashcroft Hall exactly as they always had. Because suddenly he couldn't remember the last time he had asked his wife that question. To be loved sincerely. The final line was smaller than the rest. Almost hesitant. To be loved sincerely. As though the woman writing it had been embarrassed by her own honesty. To be loved sincerely. Just once. To be loved sincerely. The paper trembled slightly in his hands. Rosalie. To be loved sincerely. The woman who had shared his home for more than a decade. To be loved. Who quietly organized charity donations without seeking recognition. Who remembered everyone else's needs. To be loved sincerely. Several years earlier, Rosalie had appeared in the doorway of his study carrying a basket over one arm. To be loved sincerely. The spring fair is in the village today, she had said, her expression brighter than usual. I don't think I can. Until enough harmless moments gathered together, 12 years quietly passed by. To be loved sincerely. I found a pianist willing to teach children from the village, she had said softly. I suppose I did once. You remembered. Because it had been easier to believe it, Sebastian sincerely folded the paper, then unfolded it again. To be loved sincerely, and suddenly he found himself unable to remember the last time he had asked Rosalie what she wanted beyond. To be loved sincerely, the endless responsibilities she carried so effortlessly. Not what the estate required, not what guests preferred. Not whether preparations had been completed. When Rosalie returned to the conservatory nearly. You found that. You wrote this. I was 22. Why didn't you buy one? To be loved sincerely, the head housemaid's daughter needed schoolbooks one year. You gave it up. I still might. You were busy. You should have told me. It's only a list. Who had quietly crossed dreams off a list because love demanded practicality. Who had learned to postpone herself so often, wanting things at all had begun to feel selfish. It isn't. Perhaps because she no longer knew what to do. To be loved sincerely, or perhaps because some part of her had stopped believing that being seen was possible. That evening, long after Ashcroft Hall had gone quiet, sincerely had retired for the night, Sebastian stood alone outside her dressing room. The maid had left the wardrobe doors slightly open. To be loved sincerely. To be loved sincerely, inside hung gowns in shades of blue, cream, and green. Elegant. Appropriate. Practical. To be loved sincerely, then looked back toward the corridor leading to the room where Rosalie slept. And for the first time in 12 years of marriage, loved sincerely. Whether the greatest tragedy in love was not betrayal, loved sincerely. To be loved sincerely because indifference rarely arrived through cruelty but rather settled quietly into routines, into assumptions. To be loved sincerely into the dangerous belief that tomorrow would always offer another opportunity to pay attention. Sleeping beside you had spent years writing down sincerely. The list remained folded on his bedside table, the candles had burned low. To be loved sincerely long ago. To be loved sincerely, he knew that Rosalie preferred the western garden in late spring because the roses bloomed earlier there. To be loved sincerely, he knew she never forgot birthdays and that she thanked you. Notes by hand rather than leaving them to secrecy. To be loved sincerely. To be loved sincerely, he knew she carried peppermints in her reticule because long carriage rides often made her ill. He knew countless details about the woman who loved sincerely. So have you. To be loved sincerely. They ate in silence for several moments while sunlight filtered through the tall windows overlooking the east gardens. To be loved sincerely. I'm sorry. Almost like the 22-year-old woman who once scribbled dreams into a folded sheet of paper. To be loved sincerely. You didn't have to do this. It tastes exactly the same. Exactly the same as what? To be loved sincerely. I think I expected happiness to feel more dramatic once. To be loved sincerely. 3 days later, Sebastian returned from London carrying a large box tied with cream ribbon. Inside lay an elegant red gown. It wasn't extravagant, wasn't covered in jewels. It was simply beautiful. The exact sort of dress a young woman might choose for herself if practicality allowed. To be loved sincerely. Love had never taught her to settle for less. Rosalie touched the silk, then withdrew her hand. You remembered. You don't like it. To be loved sincerely. Because for the first time, he realized Rosalie was simply learning how to receive love. She was learning how to believe she deserved it. To be loved sincerely. The gardens bloomed. She gave away flowers from her own arrangements before placing any in her rooms. To be loved sincerely. To be loved sincerely. The East Wing needs repairs. You mentioned it last time too. The village school required. What? To be loved sincerely just once. The wind lifted strands of copper hair around her face while waves rolled endlessly toward the sand. To be loved sincerely. When I was younger, she said quietly, I thought happiness was something extraordinary. I grew up. Yes. You wrote it down. I thought if I completed enough dreams, perhaps I'd finally feel like myself again. The woman who remembered everyone else's favorites just once. Who knew which servant's mother had arthritis, loved sincerely. What do you miss? What? I miss believing that my happiness mattered just as much as everyone else's. Rosalie. To be loved sincerely. For the first time in 12 years, all of her carefully maintained composure fractured. It isn't the red dress. To be loved sincerely. For 12 years, I knew when you couldn't sleep, knew how to calm you after difficult meetings. To be loved sincerely. I knew exactly what to say after your mother's funeral, knew your dreams. She looked directly into his eyes. I didn't know. Silence stretched between them while waves loved sincerely against the shore. Finally, Sebastian spoke. What? Who are you? At last, Rosalie whispered. To be loved sincerely. I don't know who you are anymore, Rosalie admitted. Then perhaps. To be loved sincerely. At the top, written in his careful handwriting, were just once. Beneath the title, only one line had been written. Beloved sincerely, you're happy. Every single day, Rosalie's hands trembled. Sebastian watched as she added a second line, just once, learn who I am again. His eyes filled with tears. He accepted the pen from her and wrote one sentence, to be loved sincerely. Inside, there were no grand declarations of eternal, miraculous healing. Inside, there were no grand declarations of eternal, to be loved sincerely. To be loved sincerely. Inside, there were no grand declarations of eternal. No miraculous healing, to be loved sincerely. Only two people willing to admit that love had quietly disappeared beneath routines and assumptions. Because perhaps the greatest tragedy in marriage is sincerely. To be loved sincerely. Sometimes it's forgetting that the person beside you is still a person at all. Still dreaming. Still changing.